Okay, so we're going to start on all fours. And we've been speaking a lot this term about this idea of connection to the ground at the same time as being aware of the space above us. So if you want to begin with this sort of pawing action that I enjoy, we are just lifting one wrist away from the floor and then gently putting it down with a softness in the elbow and leaning into the hand. And you can let the pelvis sway a little bit with the movement, just sort of as if you've got a tail and it's very gently being wagged from side to side. And then come to a position where you're settled with your shoulders over your wrists, your knees underneath your hips, spine in neutral. And in this position, our belly is suspended beneath us, so it's generally more relaxed to breathe into the belly. Using Ujjayi breathing or just natural breathing today if you prefer. And notice how your shoulders feel, because if there's tension in the shoulders, it's quite often because we're fighting the ground and we're pushing away from it and locking up. Whereas when we're really allowing the ground to support our weight, the shoulders can be in a very relaxed position. And then on an exhalation, we're going to just fold those hips back, bringing the chin towards the chest. And on an inhalation, press through the feet and knees to come slowly back up. Bringing the head back to a neutral position. So it's a gradual journeying of the head. As you fold the hips back, you're slowly bringing the chin to the chest. And this lovely rocking movement is so good for the lower back muscles. Just relaxes them. And it's particularly useful after prolonged bouts of sitting, which we may well do over the Christmas period. So if you do nothing else, then get on your mat a few times a day and do some rocking. And it's this balance between the space around you and the ground beneath you that helps you to relax those muscles. So as you're going back, you're really allowing the body to take your weight, surrendering. And as you come forwards, it's that slight pressing through the feet and knees, which means your legs do more of the work than your back does. And perhaps the rocking starts to slow with your breath. So you're taking the whole of an exhalation to rock back and the whole of an inhalation to come forwards. And then the next time you do this, you're going to transition this into the cat sequence, not just cat-cow, but my favourite. So we're going to be inhaling into cow, Exhaling into cat and holding that lovely flex position with the spine as you inhale. Folding back to child, pausing there to inhale and really giving your weight to the ground. Slowly uncurling as if you're being pulled down from your tail and then rolling through the vertebrae to come up to kneeling, head last of all. When you get there, you're pulling the elbows back, rolling the shoulders back, lifting the chest as you inhale. Exhale, sliding those hands forwards and pressing again through the feet and knees to bring you up onto all fours, keeping those shoulders really relaxed and dropping the weight back down through your hands. Inhaling into cow. Exhale, cat. And inhale. Exhale, folding back to child. And inhaling. Exhaling to uncurl very slowly to kneeling. Inhaling to lift the chest, open the shoulders. Exhale, slide the hands forwards. Inhale, press through the feet and knees. Exhale, drop the weight down. So just pausing at this point, breathing into that belly as you inhale into cow. Exhale into cat. And inhale. Exhale, folding back to child. Resting on the ground, letting it support you as you breathe in. Exhaling, uncurling very slowly. Inhaling at the top. Elbows in, shoulder blades in, not squeezing, just gently easing them towards one another. Sliding the hands forwards. Inhale, coming up onto all fours. Exhale, letting the weight drop down. And then continue, but really with an attitude of being a complete beginner. Beginner's mind, as we say in mindfulness, one of the 7 attitudinal foundations. So it's very easy to go into autopilot and just go through the motions, but feeling the breath. Where is it felt? It may be different between movements, between each routine. And this time, try and have your focus on the ground and your connection to it. On each of those points that are in contact with the ground. They don't vary very much. Imagine you being pulled down through the mat and into the ground beneath. A little bit more contact as you go into child. Most of the in-breaths that you take are an opportunity to just be still. It's the only active one, this one and cow. And hopefully you find that each time you do a round, You become more relaxed, more connective, less tension in the body. Just pause when you come to the end of this one. Take 3 breaths when you're on all fours. Really letting that belly hang without sagging the lower back. And when you're ready, off you go again, and focusing on all those points, the breath, flowing with the movement. Doesn't matter if you get it a little bit wrong. Feeling into the body, being with the connections to the ground. The slower the breath, the slower the movements, the more calm you'll feel. Again, just pause when you come to the end of this one for 3 breaths, as if it's the first time you've ever been on all fours and you're really feeling that connection. How do the shoulders feel now? Have you learned to let go of them a little bit? See if you can find each in-breath across the lower back ribs. And then tuck those toes under. And we're just going to do a little bit more rocking, but with the toes under, just to open the toes up. So exhale, folding back. Inhale, press through the toes, the knees, coming forwards, raising the head, not too high. Exhale back. And then one more. And this time I'd like you to fold back and then see if you can unfold, leaning into the hands. Maybe bring the hands closer to the knees. Lean into the hands so that you've got a bit of support as you uncurl through the spine, and just go as far as you're comfortable to. Your toes really are comfortable for you to, because not everyone can come all the way up. But if you can and you're comfy to be there, you can even let your weight rock a little bit from side to side so that you're really opening up those toes. And then you're going to come back onto all fours. I'm just pulling my mat away slightly so you can see me better. And with those toes tucked under, we're going to go up into dog pose. So just take your time to plant the hands. The toes are tucked under, and fold back really slowly on an exhalation. Find that biting point, that place where your feet are leaning into the ground behind you, pressing backwards. Your hands are leaning into the ground in front of you, pressing forwards slightly. And then just lift the knees and float up. She says, as if that's easy for everyone to do. How does it feel for you today? You might want to walk your dog. Just slowly lifting one heel and stretching the other heel back. Feeling that sensation in your calves and your hamstrings, because when you tune into your sensations, you're getting in touch with your body. And it can help you just to accept your experience as it is. Acknowledge the tension, acknowledge the discomfort. Be a little compassionate towards yourself. So come down before I say if you need to. But if you're able to stretch both heels back, do, even if you need to keep your knees bent. You keep your knees bent and push those sit bones right back and lift them up a tiny bit. Even with your knees bent, you can get that length through your spine. And then very slowly bring those knees down. Keep your weight back if you can. Just pause briefly in child pose. So it's up to you whether you have your weight back and you keep the arms out in front of you or down beside you. Your weight's a little bit further forwards. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but you can put a block under each hand and that raises you up a little bit. That means you can go back further. So that's an option, or put one hand on top of the other or one fist on top of the other under the forehead. And in this position, just feeling your breath. Again, in those lower back ribs. And then with that sense of heaviness through the tailbone being pulled down behind you and underneath you, slowly unfold the vertebra until you're coming back up to kneeling. We're just going to look at cow arms. So we're going to take one arm in front on top of the head and the other arm behind the back. So if we start with the right hand on the top of the head, the left hand behind the back, slide the hands towards one another along the length of the spine until they won't go any further. And let them rest. Feel into the body. So just remembering that one of the habits that we may do here is that we may think, I want to get those hands closer, and so we'll arch the back to do so. And the other one is that we'll try and get those hands closer, and so we'll lean to one side to do so. So feel into those sit bones, feel them balance between the two sides, the two heels. And then we're rolling the left shoulder blade in towards the spine. Slide it towards the spine, roll the shoulder back. Maybe that allows the hand to creep a little bit higher up the spine, but don't force. And then the left shoulder blade, we want to slide it out to the side and then lift it up. So think about the top armpit being open. And again, breathe into the back of the body. Feel the breath expanding the back rib cage. And softening a little bit with each exhalation. And you could stay for 3 to 5 breaths. I'm going to leave it up to you. The important thing is that when you come out, you're going to do it very gently by stroking your body, bringing that top elbow down, letting the hands slide over the chest, the tummy, and then sliding that back hand out, resting the hands in the lap. You're going to put your left palm on the bottom, left hand up, right hand on top, and touch the pads of the thumbs together, making that connection between the thumbs whenever you're ready. Pressing them lightly together and taking 3 deep breaths. Right into the belly. And then when you're ready, you'll do the other side. So taking your left hand on top, your right hand behind, sliding them along the spine. This time your right shoulder rolls back and the shoulder blade slides in towards the spine. The right shoulder blade slides out and lifts up. Breathing into the back ribs. And if you haven't, if you needed a break, take a break. If you need to come onto all fours, give some space to the back of the knees. And again, when you've taken your 3 to 5 breaths, depends on the pace of your breath, just making it feel right in the body. Make sure the shoulders feel as if they've been equally stretched. And again, come back to the left hand in the lap, the right hand on top, the pads of the thumbs touching. And whenever you're ready, we're just going to drop onto the right hip. Bring the right shin forwards, the left shin behind. So that knee is right behind the right heel. It's taking me a while for my brain to do the opposite movement to you. And your thigh is parallel to the short edge of the mat. Your shin is parallel to the long edge of the mat. And your back shin is parallel to the short edge of the mat again. So what we're going to do is we're going to lean into the right hand. It's going to be a little bit away from the body. And then we're just going to rotate around the base of the ribs towards that back hand. And you might not go all the way around, so you might need to have your hands diagonal to one another, or you may be able to turn far enough that you can have your hands side by side, middle fingers pointing to that short edge of the mat. Listen to your body, notice how it's feeling in those back muscles in particular, around your pelvis. And just remember, if you need a little bit of height here, put a blanket under your hip or even a block can help. So we're going to be rotating in the other direction. We're going to lean into this hand. So I just want to reiterate the importance of not locking the elbow out and sort of collapsing into the shoulder. So we want to keep that elbow a little bit soft and keep the shoulder relaxed. You're going to have to use some tone in your triceps in order to make this work. And then we're very slowly rotating and fixing our gaze on the elbow. Do this on an exhalation. And then inhale when you've gone as far as you can. And we're not forcing it round so it's a great big twist, because that's not going to feel calm and relaxing. And then returning on an exhale. And as that hand meets the floor, you're leaning into it. Both elbows soft. Deep breath in as you pause. Really filling the rib cage, so you've got lots of air in the lungs to let go of as you exhale around. Your pelvis is rolling, so you're shifting towards the left hip, the back hip. Another deep breath in. And again, your pelvis is rolling, so you're lifting the back sit bone, you're rolling towards the front knee, rotating the spine, the rib cage coming forwards over the knee, over the thigh, leaning into the ground, slowly breathing in. So obviously, I'm breathing quite slowly. You may be going at a slightly faster pace, so just the rate that works for you, so that you're not straining your breath at any point. And the key to these movements is that whilst they're repetitive, that's the importance of them. But again, you come back to this idea of doing it with a beginner's mind, so you can be curious about how it feels each time. And again, it's these muscles around the low back that start to relax, and it's also the hip flexor, the psoas, which is the major muscle that switches on when we're stressed, because it gets ready to make us run away. And so a lot of us have been feeling stressed about what we're going to do this Christmas and what we shouldn't do, doing the shopping. Even that's become a bit stressful. So a really useful opportunity to just switch off those fight and flight muscles. Shift into calm, parasympathetic dominance. Relaxing, resting, digesting, letting all the systems function in a state of equilibrium instead of a state of agitation. When you rotate around this time, you're going to open that arm up. So you're looking at the inner elbow, changing the direction slightly because we're sweeping that arm down the front of the body, following the gaze, following the hand with our gaze this time. So the weight shifts into the front knee. Keep following round as the arm then comes up. Circles over, and you're just following it round and round and round. Letting the breath flow. It's nice to inhale as your arms coming up and over and the rib cage is expanding. A little bit of cracking in the shoulders there for me. And the elbow is soft. Yeah, we're not making big agitating stiff movements. Now, if your wrist is getting tired, then I would just encourage you to come upright for a little bit. And what you could do is some sliding, just rolling forwards over the pelvis and then walking the hands back in. And that's just if your wrists are getting a bit tired. If you're okay, we're going to add some weight bearing to that wrist. So if you just want to watch before you join in, the arm is up. And what we're going to do is, as we sweep it down the front, and that weight naturally rolls towards that front knee, we're going to press into the ground through the knee, through the ankle, through the back knee and the ankle, so that we can start to lift the hips up, push the hips forwards, really open up the rib cage, and then start to lower back down as the arm returns behind us and we're looking at it. So we're going to exhale, inhale, and watch what's happening in this elbow and shoulder, because if people are hypermobile, they're going to overly rotate that shoulder, they're going to hyperextend the elbow. We've got to use the strength in the upper arm to support us here. So some of these poses might not look like they're doing very much, but actually because you're using that connection to the ground, you are having to use strength in your body. In fact, in some ways, more strength, because you've got to have more control. And my leg has naturally kind of slipped around. That's okay. It's just that's what where my hip needs to be in order for this to feel comfortable. So instead of my heel being right in front of the knee, my foot's actually slid back on the inside of the thigh. So again, just doing what feels right in your body, not forcing it to be in a position that's causing any sort of strain. And just maybe one more if you can. And wherever you are, whether you've been doing this version or the sliding forwards and back version, just pausing in the center here for a moment, taking another 3 deep breaths. You could maybe let your hands rest on the knees. And these pauses are so important because they give us an opportunity to check in with the body. What's worked and what's not, because not every pose suits everybody. And therefore, when you do things on the other side, this gives you an opportunity to just consider whether you do a little bit less or whether you could do things more strongly, but bearing in mind that we're looking to balance the body. So just positioning the shins so that they're parallel to the edges of the mat. You've got a sort of 90 degree at your right knee now. And then leaning into your left hand. So taking it away from the body, leaning into the back sit bone. And then rotating from your rib cage, bringing the back hip forward, so you're also rolling the pelvis slightly. And turning, remember it's okay to be here with the hand near the knee if that's as far as you go, or to turn a little bit more and have the hand anywhere along that path that is comfortable for your body. So soft elbows, leaning into the ground. Notice how it feels, particularly around the area of the back of the waist, the lower back ribs. That's where the QLs, quadratus lumborum, meet the attachment point of your psoas muscle. So your psoas muscle starts in the back here, travels down, comes forwards and into the inner thigh region. So it's quite difficult to track if you're not that familiar with it. But so if your psoas is tight, you're likely to feel it tight here, but also tight right up in the lower back here, top of the lower back. So soft elbows, and then when you're ready, leaning into your left hand, exhaling, rolling towards the back hip, rotating the spine, fixing the gaze on that elbow, and that helps to not strain the neck. And just remember that when you're here, not to hyperextend that shoulder and straighten, look into the elbow too much. Deep breaths in whenever you're still, whenever you're pausing. With a gurgly tummy, I'm hoping that's not being picked up on the microphone. Everything we're doing is just encouraging the nervous system to feel soothed. So we're not hyperextending, we're not pushing and moving to our extreme ranges of motion. Trying to let muscles switch off and only recruit the muscles that really need to be used for the body to mobilize itself. And then when you take that arm around them this time, again, you're going to open it up. So you're looking at the inner elbow, and then look up at the hand. And we're going to exhale and sweep the hand down to the right leg, to the left foot, rolling into the left knee, towards the left knee. Right sit bone sits up. Deep breath in as you take the arm up and around. All the time following that hand now with your gaze. So this is also helping to hopefully relax the neck muscles as you're just letting the head gently rotate. And this deep, slow, steady breathing is also going to help relax your nervous system, relax your body. So when you come up, if you need to adjust the foot a little bit, you can do, and remember that you're either going to be rolling forwards from your pelvis, not your waist. So we're not just collapsing and trying to do this, we're rolling from the actual pelvis, taking the hands forwards and walking them back because otherwise you're going to switch those muscles on that you've been trying to relax. But if you want to do the weight bearing version, remember we're starting with the arm extended and behind us, looking at that hand. Same action as we exhale, we bring the arm forwards, we roll the back hip, shift the weight into the front knee. We're really pressing into the ground through those back, through those lower legs and feet, opening the hip. Inhaling as you come up, exhaling, you start lowering the pelvis down. Requires strength in your arm. If you haven't got that strength, just do little movements. And what I mean by that is you might do something like, you might just roll forwards, you might just roll backwards. So you're giving the arm a little bit more weight, but you're not asking it to do more than it's ready to. So here, you're really having to lean into that hand. Those triceps are switched on. And then just rolling back, you can let them relax. Yeah, so if you find that you roll forwards and as you come up, you're okay, but then you kind of want to go and just drop down because you haven't got the strength, that's not really going to serve your body very well. So just do going as far as you can safely go. Working with the breath is going to help you find that control. Inhaling up and around. Exhaling to slowly bring yourself down. Maybe just one more. Just sitting upright, as upright as you can. Hands on the knees, 3 deep breaths. So I want to invite us to have a little pranayama pause. So maybe grab a block, a chair. You don't have to sit cross-legged. We have done some work that might mean the hips are quite comfortably open. And just remembering that by having your hips higher than your knees, you're going to be able to keep those lower back muscles switched off. As soon as you are having to slump because you haven't got the strength in your core to lift you up, or you're a bit tight around the pelvic muscles, then your back muscles are going to be switched on and they're not going to be very comfortable. So you can probably see that I'm always a bit wonky. So grab some props. I've got a few scarves here to just roll up under your knees, pillows, cushions, whatever you've got. So supporting the knees, which means that the hip flexors don't have to be switched on again. We don't want to undo all the good work that we've been doing. In fact, I want them to be the same height, so I want that one to be a bit higher than that. So we're going to do a little bit of alternate nostril breathing, and I can't mirror you on this occasion, so we're going to be doing the same thing. So if you're right-handed, you're going to bring your left forearm across the body, palm facing up, drop your right elbow into the hand, and just other way around if you're left-handed. Either way, we're going to be using the ring finger and the thumb to close the nostrils. And remember, it's that little crease down the side of your nostril that you're touching with the tip of your finger, either your nail or the pad of your finger. Not pressing it shut, because otherwise you've got to unstick. Not really pleasant. And the other option that you can have is to use the underside of your thumb and literally touch the underneath of your nostril. and then your ring finger to touch the underneath of your opposite nostril. But you're going to have, if you're right-handed, your ring finger on the crease of the left nostril, the thumb on the crease of the right nostril, the other way around if you're left-handed. Your index finger and middle finger can be on the bridge of your nose or folded in. So whatever's comfortable for you. It's about comfort more than anything. We're using Ujjayi breathing, or your natural breathing. If you prefer, it's okay to do this with your natural breathing, but I just want to remind you that you're really focusing on the pause, and because we're looking at feeling calm, we want the exhalations to be longer than the inhalations. The ideal ratio is 1 to 2. So if you inhale for 3, you would exhale for 6. But I'm not a huge fan of counting. I quite like to just let the breath be natural and comfortable, because I think that's the most relaxing thing of all. But if you can get some idea that at least the out breath is longer than the in breath, that's great. And then there's a natural pause at the end of the out breath, and there's often a natural pause at the top of the in breath. So just allow them to linger, not without holding the breath. You're not restricting the throat, just hovering the breath. And not everybody finds this comfortable. If you've got a deviated septum, it's difficult. So you can always just imagine the breath coming in the left nostril, out of the right, in the right, out of the left. And because we all like going at our own pace, it's really useful to know that when you start the practice, you inhale through the left, and when you finish, you exhale through the left. So if you want to stop before I say, just make sure you've exhaled through the left and then relax. And you can come to lying on the floor with your feet on the floor if you want to finish before I've said so again. So when you're ready, positions, please. Just have 3 rounds of Ujjayi or your natural breathing, breathing into the belly. After your next exhalation, close the right nostril and inhale through the left. Close the left nostril so both are closed while you pause. Release the right and exhale through the right. Pause. Inhale through the right. While you pause, close the right nostril so both are closed. And release the left and exhale through the left. Pause. Inhale. Close the left. Release the right and exhale through the right. Pause. Inhale through the right. Close the right. Release the left and exhale through the left, and just continue in your own time. If you find the mind wandering, don't judge, just bring it back to the focus of alternate nostril breathing, the felt sensation of breathing. And when you next exhale from your left nostril, release your hands, pause, just do some natural breathing. And then when you're ready, if you haven't already, come down to the floor. Fix it. Okay, so before we come into Shavasana, we're just going to spend a little bit of time with heels underneath the knees. Roll back onto your forearms and down onto the back. And it's always a good idea to check that your feet, your little toe edges are parallel to the outside edges of your mat. Just to look down the side of your body, because they can move as you lie down. You want to be able to see them, just. And then lie with your palms resting down on the floor. And what we're going to do is we're going to inhale and imagine someone else is holding your arms from underneath and they're just pushing them upwards. So your shoulder blades are going to stay flat on the floor. And then as you inhale, you're going to take those arms over the back, keeping those shoulder blades down as much as possible until they have to come up, and maybe your elbows have to widen in order for your arms to be comfortable on the floor, but really feel the movement of the shoulder blades and the front ribs. So you're exhaling to rest the arms, and then you're going to inhale and lift them up. And exhale, bring them back down and feel the rib cage sliding forwards, down, the shoulder blades coming back to their neutral position, letting those arms land. A little bit like you're breathing, there's a pause at the end of the breath. So inhale the arms up and back. As the rib cage opens, exhale to relax the arms on the floor behind you. And a little bit like child pose, if you can't get them on the floor behind you, put a block underneath the back of your arms so you don't have to take them quite so far back and cause strain. Then inhale the arms up. Exhale the arms down. Just let the arms relax on the floor now, completely relaxed and heavy. And then find the triangular base of your feet, so the very back of your heel. And if you lift and spread the toes and then gently put them down, find the ball of the foot at the base of the big toe and the base of the little toe. And as you sink them into the floor, you want to feel like your tummy's slightly pulling back towards the spine, so the smaller the back sinks down. And it almost feels as if the heels are pushing down and the feet are slightly going, which way are they going? Well, they're sinking. I was teaching this yesterday, and it's really difficult with beginners because you're trying to give direction and you realise that it becomes so natural to you sometimes that you really have to think about what the body's doing. It's not pushing forwards, because by pushing forwards you can jerk into your lower back, and that's the area we've been relaxing. It's definitely going down, and if anything the heels are slightly coming back, but I don't overthink it. You really want to just get this rolling action with your pelvis. And we don't need to do any more than roll it up and roll it down. That's plenty for some of you, especially if you have found that those back muscles are a little bit tight. However, you may want to go a little bit further and take it all the way into a bridge pose, rolling the vertebrae away from the floor, one after the other. So as the feet go down, the hamstrings engage, the thighs engage. We're not actively squeezing the buttocks, although the buttock muscles will engage. You're just rolling away from the ground, but those arms stay completely relaxed, the shoulders relaxed, the back of the head relaxed, and most importantly, the jaw, space between the teeth. When you've gone as far as you want to, start rolling back down. You've still got that traction through your feet so that you can put the vertebra down one at a time from the top of the spine to the tailbone. And then you can add that arm movement in together. So if you're going all the way up, you're sinking the feet down. Inhale as you roll the pelvis up. Sorry, let me do that again. Exhale as you roll the pelvis and sink the feet. But then when you're ready to take the arms up, as you're lifting a little bit higher, you can inhale. And you're really getting that space into your ribs and your chest. And you're going to exhale and roll the body down and take the arms with you. Notice that my arms aren't ramrod straight, they're a bit curved and bent at the elbows. And again, that just makes you feel a little bit more relaxed. And we'll just do it one more time. Exhaling to sink the feet, roll the pelvis. And then inhaling, those arms are really floating up, gliding away from the ground with your spine. All the efforts through the feet. Noticing again those areas that often get tense are the shoulders, the neck, back of the skull, jaw. And when your arms land this time, just notice that connection to the ground. And what you might want to do very simply is roll the arms now so that they find their way onto the little finger edges. And then you could just take your feet wide and let your knees come together. So the toes are pointing towards one another, heels are out, knees are touching. And that's switching off the hip flexor muscles, is keeping hopefully a slight flattening out of your lower back. So you don't want to be arching away from the floor. You could take your feet slightly further away. But if you've got all the props and the kit and the equipment, then by all means, go for it and do whatever you need to make yourself comfy. And while you're gathering all your equipment, if you are, then I just want to talk you through a little mantra that I'd like you to engage in as you lie here, which is breathing in, connecting to my body, breathing out, settling into my body. Breathing in, connecting to my body. Breathing out, settling into my body. And what I mean by that is that as you breathe in, notice the parts of the body that may still be retaining some tension. Maybe direct the breath to that area. So you're connecting to those parts of the body that need your attention. And as you breathe out, really settle into that part of the body. Send the breath to that part of the body. Allow it to connect or to sink towards the ground. Breathing in, connecting to my body. Breathing out, settling into my body. Mind may wander. You can just guide it back to this mantra. Maybe you don't need the mantra anymore. Maybe you're finding that you're very naturally connecting to your body on the in-breath and settling into it on the out-breath.
You're going to come out of Shavasana by rolling very, very lazily onto your preferred side. If you're flat on your back, draw the knees up first so that you can roll. And then use your top hand on the floor to bring you up to sitting. So you can feel a bit like a rag doll, really flopping, using as little muscular effort as is necessary, coming all the way up when you're ready.